Lots to learn, and welcome back. My name's Jez.
And I'm Dan.
And we are from KOVE Properties, and this is the show when we bring you our weekly lessons from property and business. So, Dan, what are you talking about this week?
So we've had a lot of questions actually recently from some of our loan and learners and from people in our network, really. And that's, how do I find the right contractor to work with? And there's been quite a lot of questions around contractors. So I wanted to just talk about that as a whole and about our experiences and what our top tips are.
Our pain.
Yeah, and some of the negative experiences as well. I mean, as you know, guys, we're very honest and transparent. So I'll enlighten you on some of those experiences. And I've got some questions for you, Jez, this week, if that's okay. And that's to do with operations. So you're the director of customer experience and operations, and I'm the sales director of the business. So I wanted to ask you some questions on operations and specifically talk about a couple of key questions about the business and what your thoughts are on I suppose some of the risks in the business and what you. Okay. What's your experience really of just operations in general? I've got some specific questions.
You're going to put me on the spot.
I don't want to give away too much. So do you want me to start?
Let's go.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So firstly, contractors. That's the one of the biggest problems I see with investors and people investing hands-free is contractors can be a lot of work and a lot of stress if you're not doing it right. Even the most experienced can have trouble with builders. Okay, so I wanted to talk about our experience first, and then I want to talk about how if we would start from scratch, how we would find contractors to start from scratch and to do our projects. So I'll firstly talk about our experience. So when we first started, we got recommended. We got a builder recommended to us from a friend of a friend. Seemed like a really nice guy, and yeah, he started doing some projects for us. All the first few weeks was quite hunky dory. Everyone's getting along, and
the honeymoon period.
The honeymoon period, yeah. And then we started to notice that communication was a bit of an issue, and we had clients, that we were reporting to. And if the builder isn't reporting to us, we can't report to the client, and that makes us look bad. So there was a single point dependency on this particular contractor, and he was letting us down. Then, further down the line, he basically stopped speaking to us. He got his payment. He's like second payment, ghosted us. He said on one of the properties, he said he was doing some damp work. We got we got a specialist in, and I'd spoken to that specialist on the phone. He was like coordinating it all, and he said it had been done. When about a week later, or even a few days later, the walls had been plastered, and this damp work was quite a lot of work. It was literally the whole basement needed tanking, and they need special systems put in place for water to water mitigation, because it was under the ground, and there was a lot of water coming through into that basement. So we really need to spend a lot of money on that to get that rectified. And he basically pretended to do it. So plastered the wall, put like a membrane, a little tiny membrane at the bottom to make it look like the whole ground basement floor was tanked, and it wasn't, until we chipped away and realized it was a scam essentially. Contacted the company. They said yes, he spoke to us, but he never actually paid us or got us to do any work. So we soon realized we'd been scammed, and it was literally the worst experience. It was, we just started out, we just built our brand, and it was a horrible experience. And we had to, be honest with the clients. We paid for it all with our own money, and it took a big hit on us, not just financially, but mentally as well, and like, you know, really knocked us back. It was our first kind of, we were just starting off, and it absolutely knocked us for days. So yeah, it's a big eye-opening experience, and we've learned a lot from it. And I think looking back on that, what we should have done is done our background checks on him. We should have we should have visited some of the sites, you know, and visited his work. We should have got references from multiple people around his network. And we just didn't do all that. We really didn't do the due diligence that was needed on the front end. So that was a painful story to tell, you know. But do you know what? We've benefited from it so much. Not only have we gained, you know, such knowledge in terms of what to do now and how to overcome situations. Once we overcome that, we were like, water for ducks back now, guys. You know what I mean? But that client is still with us now and really respects the fact that we took that issue into our own hands and we solved it, and we got it over the line, and we you know, we paid for it ourselves, and we acted with integrity in that moment. And this guy, his company's gone bust now. He's moved city, and you know, look where we are, look where he is. So it just shows, you know, stick to your values, and just provide the best service that you can, and any circumstance you can overcome. But that's not what we're I'm not talking about that too much today. I want to talk about tips on finding builders and having that due diligence on the front end. And that's what I'm saying. You need to do that, because that's what happened to us, and it can happen to you as well.
Basically learn from our mistake.
Exactly. So you need to be visiting site. If they've got projects on the go at the time, go down there, see the quality of their work, ask the vendor of the house, how is it? Is it on time? Is he organized? That particular builder, we knew he was working with a carpet fitter that we used, and he said that multiple vendors that he was doing other jobs with, he was messing them around as well. And I think at one point he didn't pay the electrician, and he came and ripped out all the electrics from that property because he hadn't paid them. And then that was trouble as well. So if all we had to do was speak to other vendors that he had jobs with, and they would have told us this. The network, they would have told us this, and we would have been able to see that there was red flags already at that time. So I think that's a very, very, very good strategy to do that. Word of mouth, you know, we got this builder through word of mouth, but it wasn't word of mouth. It was a friend, and it wasn't a respected individual in our field who, you know, it could have been, you know, for example, an investor who's used them before. That's the kind of referral you want to be getting, not your mum's friend or something like that, you know. Okay, so it's predicated on finding the right referral from the right person, and then doing the right due diligence and checking up on their background, checking up on their credit history, checking up on their work, speaking to their network, and really making sure that you're, you know, doing all those checks on them before you actually start paying them any money.
You know, some of that's easy to access online. Have they got a profile online anywhere? Yes. Like on any website? Do they have a social media page? Do they have a website? Are they on any of the review sites? If they are a limited company, look at, you know, do some digging there. But the red flag is if they're not on the internet at all.
Yes, exactly. And I think as well, finding a good builder, word of mouth is a good one, but you know, what other things is there? Well, I think if you've got a good reputation, and like we said last week about social media, now if you've got a good presence and you're building your network, and this is the thing, it all leads to this, right? So if you finding a good builder from a very experienced investor, they might not give you that contact, but if you're building your brand awareness and you're posting in the hands-free investing group and you're being proactive and you're becoming a person of value to the community, someone is going to give you that contact. So when people are like, oh, well, I'm not posting on social media because it won't benefit me, all this stuff will benefit you. Power Team benefits you. So please, guys, I urge you to start posting in this group more. I want to see your faces. But I think that's a good way of doing it. Posting, getting yourself out there, meeting people, connecting, and then getting referrals. Another could be Checker Trade. We haven't had good experience with Checker Trade, mainly because we picked out the top 20 at the beginning, and the top 20 were all overpriced, overbooked, like, months and months ahead. And it just didn't really work for us. Okay. So we find networks work the best. But yeah, best strategy is to do all that due diligence beforehand and build up your brand. So you're a person of value, I think, because people will come to you then. If you do a post on our group, there'll be lots of people that will be able to refer you to solicitors, brokers, builders, and good ones as well. So yeah, please do get yourself out there, I think.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, one obviously, I suppose, creative way that we've tried to get builders as well is we've actually done Facebook ads for them.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I suppose, you're not getting that referral, so therefore you need to do your due diligence even more on them, because they're just a random person that's replied to an advert.
Yeah. I mean, it was slightly different for us because it was more like builders to join our team. But yeah, I think you're right. If you want to do ads, you need to be double down on the due diligence, because yeah, it's probably more at risk really with that. But I think it's good. It's a good point.
But it's all, for me, yeah, you're right. It's all about the referrals from your network. Like I've heard, for example, if you make a good contact with a surveyor or an architect or a QS or a structural engineer, they will all know builders. They all know one another, and that's actually the people you can just get other power team recommendations from people in your power team.
Yeah, you can.
Which is kind of what we've done, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So that's our little top tip. If you've got any questions, ping it in the comments. Let's have a chat. Moving on to the second segment. So this is more about business, and I think it can be related to anything. I wanted to talk about it particularly in terms of property because it's more relatable to talk about, but this can be applied to anything. And every business needs operations, no matter what you're doing, even if it's a cleaning company or if it's solicitors, you need to have an operation procedure in place. So, Jez, firstly, I want you to explain about your role of the Director of Customer Experience and Operations, and just give us embody what you do in our business.
So that role is essentially looking at, I suppose, two things. That's why there's two halves to it. It's the customer experience angle is about ensuring that we are providing a great service across our business, and coming under that is our project management team, and they are obviously very fundamental to ensure that we are providing a great experience from the customer and for our clients from day one of conveyancing all the way through to the end of the refurb and handing it over to the lettings team. They are crucial in providing that service to our clients, because that's the main thing we do, right? We're here to provide a great service for people to invest in property hands-free, and they are crucial to that. So that customer experience is mainly to do with that, but it's mainly customer experience across the whole business, of thinking about how we can always increase our kind of product and service and get the customer satisfaction to really high standards, and basically provide a service. Our objective is to provide a service which wows people and excites them. So that's what that part of my role is. And sitting under that is also the new lettings business. And then you've got the operations side, which is more, I would say, internal focused. That's kind of like the nuts and bolts. It's the engine, and it's basically creating all of the systems and structures within the business to make it run. So that's one of the old CEOs who I used to work with described it as the plumbing, which is quite a good way of looking at it. Yeah. It's the plumbing to make the system work. So that is your finance structures and your HR, your IT systems, which are obviously very crucial, especially nowadays. I mean, we're very much a remote business, so our IT setup and tech setup is kind of fundamental to the way that we work. So it's anything, I would say, internal that helps the business function.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah, because you talk about tech in that, but you also talk about customer experience. Now, I want you to talk. I've got a question really regarding, to have good customer experience. It's a people's game, right? You've got to have that relationship. But would tech take that away, or do you think that tech could provide that? And do you think that tech could be a hindrance to that customer service, or do you think it could be a benefit?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good question, because I think it's a fine line, isn't it? I think, especially with a business like this, that is very much people focused. We are essentially, I would describe us as ultimately a customer service business.
Mm.
The role of tech in that is definitely a fine balance, and it's important to use tech to essentially enhance our service rather than provide, I suppose, what might be sometimes deemed as a bit of a cold, front, and not just have an auto kind of robots talking to our clients. Tech is there to enhance that service. So, for example, whether that's in terms of our project management, we're currently now using like a shared drive where all of the documents get posted from all of the refurbs every week, gets updated. So using tech to provide that visibility. On our lettings business, are using a lot of automation to provide a much more efficient service. So there's less back and forth. So there's a lot more, I suppose, self-sufficiency for clients to onboard their properties, and just a lot, because there's a lot of stuff that's manual, and it's kind of doesn't need to be manual. It's like you can use, there's so much tech available now to automate. So one thing we're doing, for example, is, our clients can onboard their properties on our website without speaking to someone. But obviously, if they want to speak to someone, they can. But that's just the way. It just cuts out the kind of back and forth and the emails. And another way we're using tech is that, we're using an app, and the app provides visibility for our clients of what's going on, what their invoices are that month. And all of the documents are in one place in an app, ready for them. They don't need to contact anyone, and no one needs to. It's already dropped in there automatically. It's not relying on someone to do it. So it's just taking some of the manual out of it to enhance that service. But also, what that does is then that frees up our team to then provide that better service, to spend more time with that client, like face to face or on the phone, because they're not having to do all of the manual stuff. That's all been done automatically. So then they've got time to spend understanding that customer and building better relationships with them, because their mind's clearer and their task list are clearer because it's all being automated.
Well, it also ties into last week's about, spending your time wisely. Because it's, what's better for human, human error is inevitable, right? What's better doing admin tasks, a person or a computer? I mean, I forgot to send an email out today, right? And it happens. You get someone rings you,
exactly.
you get waylaid, and then
exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. If it's down to that's the clever thing when you said about efficiency. It's about the tasks that humans are wonderful creatures, but they have benefits and hindrances, positives and negatives. The positives are the human, the sales element, the relationship element, but the negative is the human error, the organization, the process, which you can forget or you can not do correctly or whatever. And I think by you as the operations director, you're managing that in a way that you're going, well, the things that can be outsourced, that can cause error, I'm replicating with the system. Whereas the other things like the sales, and the customer experience, the customer relationships, that's obviously not automated. So you're utilizing the strengths and factoring in the negatives as well. So I think that's a massive
part. I mean, we've built our whole premise of our whole lettings agency on being tech driven and looking to provide a high quality service. But our whole premise of being tech driven is because, you know, we've seen so many, everything in property is so manual. It's so far behind the times in terms of conveyancing, in terms of, you know, other estate agency in general. You know, we know an estate agency, for example, you have to send all your documents when you buy a property by post.
Yeah.
It's like the computer doesn't exist to them.
I know.
And, you know, we want to be different. We want to be modern. We want to bring lettings and property up to the 21st century. We want to bring it up to date because it's so far behind, and using like apps and automation to provide a better service to our clients and to the tenants as well is what we're looking to do from this lettings business. Like, for example, from the tenant point of view, if you want to book in a viewing, you can go for a property, you can go on our website or through the app. You can just book out a time in the calendar just there and then. You don't have to speak to anyone. There's no back and forth. Everyone's used to this way of working. And now that, you know, Airbnb, how streamlined and great is that?
Uber.
Is that website? And that's the kind of benchmark that we're looking to do for our business. Because we question why the rest of the industry is years and years behind.
Well, we also talked about that a couple of weeks ago. You know, adapting to a changing climate and a changing market. Look at Blockbuster with the VHS tapes. Didn't seem to adapt to that changing market, technological market. And then look at Netflix. And Netflix are doing obviously so well now, and they understood that long-term goal of where technology is going to be, even though it wasn't there at the time, and they saw it and they strategized to it. And that's essentially what we're doing with the lettings. We're seeing where the future is, and we're starting to make the changes now for when that comes into fruition.
100%, yeah. And it will, you know, some people won't be used to it. Some people will want paper documents. Some people will want contracts in paper and things like that. But, you know, that people aren't always used to change. They don't always like it. No. But as you said, we're looking to sort of the future and kind of changing some mindsets here. You know, that's what we're looking to do as a whole company, is sort of change the way of doing things and actually make it kind of better and be different. You know, if you look at the experiences of, as I say, Airbnb and Amazon, the way they've completely revolutionized, and Uber, for example, those industries, that's the kind of benchmarks that we're trying to bring to lettings here, and still questioning why it can't be done that way. Why isn't there more information? Why can't we? Everyone's used to using apps and tech, so why can't that be brought into, you know, property management?
I like it. Nice one. That's
great. That was easy. I thought you were going to put me really on the spot then. So great, guys. Well, hope you've had a good week, and we'll see you same time, same place next week for more Lots to Learn.